Ellarigu namaskara. Um, First of all, I think it's just a brilliant this thing that Jayanth's written a book which is so close to everybody's heart in terms of Mangalore. But I have a confession to make here. Um Around this time last year, when Jayanth told me that he was writing this book, my first reaction was, "Oh, very nice, very nice." But after that, I asked myself, Mangalore and cricket, what's he talking? We knew there was a Kundran, there was a Raghuram Bhatt, because the snobbish Bangalorean in me was like, we have a National College Basangudi ground, we have a Central College ground, you know, we are the land of G.R. Vishwanath, B.S. Chandrasekhar, E.S. Prasanna. But it's only after I started reading of whatever little Jayan generously shared with me that I realized in the coast, cricket is just not a sport. It is a socio-cultural binding factor which went way beyond records. It went beyond results. It's a slice of history which I think was a huge eye-opener, not just for me, but many from our generations who don't know what is there beyond the boundaries of cricket. So I'll start, Jen, first. I know there are lots of Mangalore cricket uneducated people like me, but what was that thought process behind Art Canara Trust and you to put this book together?
Welcome everybody. There was the germ of the idea, or the source of that idea actually was not mine. I was nowhere in the picture. About 3 years ago, 2022 to be precise, in February, the local unit of INTAC and Art Canara Trust hosted an exhibition of rare cricket photographs, cricket events that happened in Mangalore and some of those outside the city. So, I mean, the senior members of INTAC and Art Canara are here. So this exhibition, when I visited the Kodial Guttu Gallery after a while, after probably a year or so, I was shown these photographs and reports about this collection. So I was intrigued. In fact, as you mentioned earlier, local histories of cricket are very rare in India. I mean, you hear of local histories in England, you hear of local histories in South Africa, in Australia, but not about cricket in India. So it struck me somewhere also, and of course, initially the focus of the exhibition that Art Canara Trust was holding was about Nehru Maidan, which is around which cricket is centered and about which probably we'll speak more about later. But later I realized, as you rightly pointed out, to the world outside it is only KL Rahul who is known. The older generation might know Budhi Kundran. But there are a whole lot of cricketers. In fact, as we have listed in this book, there are about 45 in fact cricketers who have been profiled. And I'm sure there are 10 times more, because it's not an exhaustive documentation as such. So the need for local histories was felt, and then of course they commissioned me to work on this, and that is how it started, really.
One of the most, I'll start with the title of the book, Red Cherries,
yeah.
The Coast. The general cricket perception of a layman when you say red cherry is the red ball. And of course, there's the whole romantic angle to the red cherry. Can you just dwell on the thought process of the name? Because it strikes a chord with a lot of people.
Right. I'll just
yes, please.
cover. The red cherries, as we all know, as we commonly understand, is about the cricket ball. It is covered with a layer of leather painted in red, and so it is called like a red cherry, which is this is a common thing. But red cherries are also about a cricket bat which has at its three-fourths length what is called the sweet sound, the sweet spot, where the ball hits the bat, and it is then that the stroke is more elegant and makes a beautiful sound. So those little spots of red on the cricket bat are what are also called red cherries. So I have tried a little haiku, a Japanese version of it, which is on the cover here. It's a little philosophical, but also about cricket. It goes this way. It's a three-line poem. Sweet sound of bat, willow flushed with cherry hits, so many war wounds. Now, there is the sweet sound of bat. Red is also associated with blushing, with the flush of cherry hits, as they say, as the ball and bat get into contact. There's also a totally opposite repercussion. Is it war after all? Are there wounds? Is that why it is red? You know, there's a little philosophical question, theme behind the title. It's also ironical that you don't find red cherries. Cherries are not grown along the coast. So that is how, I mean, you wonder if there was so much cricket along the coast, you know. So that's the reference, finally.
Right. One of the things that I discovered while reading the book is it's not just water that we give Tamil Nadu. Then Madras, we've given them a lot of cricketers. Yeah. So the first Ranji Trophy team of Mysore instantly had 4 players from Mangalore. BC Alva, Gopal Pai, and K. Ganapati in the playing 11. Jayanth, one of the things that I saw along the reading of the book is also a lot of this, especially when it comes to writing now, is a lot of research. And the research, dates back to the British era, as I would say. But what was the biggest challenge in writing this book?
Yeah, the biggest challenge about writing local histories or even digging into local histories is pure documentation in itself. I mean, as we can understand, imagine a whole lot of cricket matches being played for over 100 years. I mean, cricket in Mangalore began in the late 19th century, that is around 1880s, 88s or 1890s onwards. So you had many club cricket and so on. So how do you keep track of it? There is no official record except for some magazine, which we will speak about later probably. So the documentation was the biggest challenge. In the sense, nobody, even if you have people who have memories of the 40s and 50s, those are fading memories. And memory always plays tricks, we know. So you will have to check and cross-check a score that somebody has mentioned or written about, but which is not authentic. You know, if it is not authenticated by the cricket board, as you know. So, I mean, just to mention a small point about the first cricket match between Mysore and Madras. This was actually the first Ranji Trophy ever in India. Yeah. That was in 1934, and a Mangalorean played for Madras then. His name was N.N. Suvarna. But in the records there, even in the Chennai Cricket Board, for a long, long time, it was Swarna. So you could never make out whether he belonged to Dakshina Kannada. It needed, in fact, it needed a lot of decoding. So this is just one small example. There are hundreds of such things which you needed documentation for. You needed cross references. You need to cross check. In fact, you were really scraping the barrel. I mean, for information. It was difficult. It was a big challenge. Research itself was a big challenge. Yeah.
So just to add to that, I can only imagine what Jayanth went through. You all have to chip in and get me another year of Cricket Archive subscription. I renewed my Cricket Archive subscription around the time I started reading this book, because it threw up so many questions in my mind, and those are scoreboards or people you generally don't find in your regular websites. So for me, that again was digging up history. And in a lot of places, you'll also find that there's a lot of question marks that's put.
Yes,
and I think
yes.
you all had to fill in those question marks through research.
Right. It's like reading data. For instance, because I come from a journalism background, I come from a newspaper which has done a lot of long form stories, which has done investigative stories. Basically how do you decode data? You get sets of data. If there are 2 or 3 blank spaces in between, you need some skill to read it. I've been groomed in that, so it helped a bit. So reading scoreboards in itself, particularly older scoreboards, I'm talking of 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and correlate them with other things was a task, in fact, was a task.
Okay, I'll start by reading one of the things that really struck me when I was reading this book was also how, Mangalore has its own, it has a very, I won't say own, a unique identity. And I think the rules of the game also was very unique only to the Mangaloreans. So one of those extracts I'm reading now goes, universities, local clubs, and teams from prominent families fueled interest in cricket. Notable family teams, particularly the Suvarnas and the Alvas, both of which had their own playing squad along with the Konkani-speaking Pentlanton Pet team, attracted large crowds. A prime example of this rivalry occurred in the 1970s during a match for the Taj Mahal trophy. Now, what was Taj Mahal doing in Mangalore? Your guess is as good as mine. Jayanth has to answer that question later. Featuring the Suvarnas from the Mangalore Sports Club against the Konkanis from Pentland Pet. The tournament was unique, that's what I was mentioning, as it mandated the match be played to a conclusion regardless of how many days it took, resulting in one match lasting 7 full days, with local legends claiming that thousands came to watch the game. But I also think Mangaloreans were quick learners, because eventually the format was changed to include a limited number of overs in each innings. I don't know how. Sir, were you there when they played 7 days?
Yes.
Yeah? You were there? Okay. Yeah. Just to reflect on going further for my question, I'll read this. After momentous victories in 1957 and 59, a motionless breeze seemed to have swept the Canara coast. For years, Nehru Maidan saw no big cricket, at least of the official and competitive kind. Over 6 decades have passed since the last Ranji Trophy match, and the play area has gradually shrunk. Unlike in big metropolitan cities, where cricket too has seen early beginnings, the game took no forward leaps here. Then this is one of the things that I want to ask. How would you pick the reason? Because over a period of time, it looks like Mangalore got stuck in a time wrap. Raichur has had matches after that. These were all infrastructure-wise, even in terms of logistics-wise, a challenge. Bhadravati hosted Ranji Trophy matches after that. Shimoga has become a major first-class venue. Why then? Was it just topography that played a role, or what happened in terms of why Mangalore's cricket journey, in terms of hosting matches, take a break?
Yeah, there are many reasons for that. I mean, it's not typically politics, as we say, because Mangalore otherwise is very influential. I mean, this district rather, has six or seven medical colleges, which apart from Bangalore, no other district in Karnataka has. It's very, very. When I say influential, I don't mean a negative thing, because it deserves that recognition. In terms of cricket, the belief is that there were wrong decisions at wrong times. I mean, down the years, there were so many things, so many spots chosen for cricket stadium. Here, there, I mean, I think as I've listed, there were at least about 4 or 5 venues which were chosen to construct big stadiums, but it never happened. One for, anti-environmental reasons or whatever. So whatever be the thing, the major factor is that not enough cricket is being played at the competitive level here, unlike in, say, Bangalore or Bombay or whatever. Also because there are other natural factors that this region has 3 months of continuous rainfall. It's another matter that this continuous rainfall affords a very peculiar kind of tournament called the Barish Trophy. There is a Barish Trophy, if you believe me, which happens in Nehru Maidan, and you won't be surprised to see an umpire with an umbrella, the slip fielder in a raincoat, and all that, which is nobody raises eyebrows. I mean, it is played for the full match, for the full game, happily, and people go home with the winners and losers in their own modes. You know, this is very peculiar to the city and region. Similarly, I mean, there hasn't been any pressing, sort of initiatives taken for competitive cricket. I think that is the more primary reason. The stadium will be built perhaps very soon because they have zeroed in on some land somewhere.
Yes.
I think
Then
that
I
is.
have another
But
question here.
yeah.
This Barish Cup, was it leather ball, tennis ball, or did they have
No,
something of their own?
this is a tennis ball thing. It's in Bengali they call it the jor ball, because where the tennis ball is immersed in water and it becomes heavier, so it's faster.
Faster.
So it's called the jor ball. In Bengal, it is played with a wet tennis ball.
And see, again, another very unique contribution of Mangalore now. I know where the wet balls that go into the bowling machine on cement tracks come from. Sorry, it was no innovation of any National Cricket Academy. It started at the Nehru Maidan there. That note. In my discovery of the coastal cricket connection, a deep literary connection also emerged from it, which for me was the most unlikely thing that I would have ever imagined, leave alone thought of. The site in this book of, please do, Jayanth will sign books after that, so you can buy your book and see it. I'm not going to show it to you all. A picture of Shivram Karanth, one of my favorite writers, with a cricket bat. Who would have thought? And he's inaugurating a local tournament. Again, the uniqueness. He was no politician, he was no film star. You know, they celebrated one of their own, a writer, in a true sense of a sporting connection there. But also a very interesting aspect is Vyasa and his observations about Robin Uthappa and Rahul Dravid. Clearly, Vyasa was a purist. So Robin Uthappa's flamboyance didn't go well with him. But the elegance and the pure form of cricket that, the red cherry cricket that Rahul Dravid played, I think that's what went with him. Then I'm very curious, how did all this make it to the book? Was it by chance or your extensive research? And because it's a very strong literary connection to have.
Yeah, I would believe personally that cricket is very, very closely linked by naturally, and very naturally or instinctively, to literature and society. In fact, because cricket is English, in other words, it's originally English, and in English cricket history, you can see that cricket is woven into society, it's woven into literature so naturally. Charles Dickens has a lot of cricket. P.G. Woodhouse has a lot of cricket, at least 3 books that I know of.
Yes.
Harold Pinter was not only a great cricket fan, he played cricket, he died, he lived, breathed, and cricket, as they say. Sorry, somebody said so. Also, Alan Ross, the poet. I can name many others. So in Karnataka also, in Kannada literature, I was looking at the links between, I have always, even much before this book, Shivram Karanth is a big titan in Karnataka and even in India. He was almost a Renaissance man, as we know. So the other big giant of Kannada literature, Kuvempu, was a great fan of cricket himself. He was a fan of Gavaskar, Sunil Gavaskar, as is known officially through my namesake Jayanth Kodkani's interview on television. So I happened to see this picture of Shivram Karanth on X, on Twitter, quite some time ago, and I did not know its source. I was wondering, where could it be? Would he have played, even if he had inaugurated a tournament, local tournament, where would it be? Nobody seemed to know. Even the person who uploaded it on Twitter, in fact, over the years, I have become his friend. His name is Jayaprakash. Even he didn't know it. He found it somewhere, he said. So he happens to be a researcher, by the way, and he is somewhere in Sweden. He was last. So he's from Karnataka, luckily, and so I couldn't trace. And then after years of seeing, there's a small visible thing in a signboard behind that faded photograph, which says some studio in Puttur. So I gathered it could be somewhere in Puttur. So even we traced it to that studio. That guy has no memories of anything. Nobody knows a thing about it. So the best person to know was Dr. Shivram Karanth's son. I met Ullas Karanth many months ago, almost a year ago, in Mangalore, and I asked him about that picture. He said, if memory serves me right, my father had nothing to do with cricket. But it's likely that he did this because he would never reject any invitation to inaugurate something. He would go anywhere and help people around. Even an inauguration of a little showroom or outlet, he would go and all that. So it's very much likely that he inaugurated, but although he was holding the bat in a very awkward way, almost like holding a shopping bag, as it seemed. But Ullas told me a very interesting thing, that if my father also never played any game, he was rarely interested in. We know Shivram Karanth had a health fad, as in he took those long walks, which he was very famous for every day, along the beach and all that. But this was unknown. He said even if he played cricket, he would be placed behind the wicketkeeper. So that was his reputation. So these were very interesting facts that came out of this. And so the literary reference wasn't accidental, it was conscious. I have also named many other, even the English writer Aravind Adiga, the Booker Prize winner,
Vyasa,
who was in M. Vyasa, the short story writer. Some of you know, is from. So his stories, if somebody is familiar, were very grim. It spoke of of loneliness,
Yes.
of, or many other such moods. But that he was interested in cricket and that he had some defining opinions about cricket was surprising. I found this in an anthology about his writings. So I thought it was very interesting to incorporate this.
The advantage of being a multilingual writer and reader. Please learn more than one language. Staying with literature again, the contribution of Mangalore magazine to the literature of cricket in the coast. Jayanth, I would like you to read an excerpt from about Mangalore magazine, so you tell people about it.
Let me just briefly tell you what the Mangalore magazine is. The Mangalore magazine is a journal, was a journal, and is in some ways, was a journal published by the Aloysius institutions. The Aloysius institutions, as we know, started in the late 19th century. And its first editor was an Irishman called James Moore, if I'm right. Anyway, so it was known for its nice, flowery writing, almost very literary, poetic at times. And they wrote about local cricket matches. I'm talking of matches that happened in 1901, more than 100 years ago, 1890. I mean, you have all these records in the Aloysius archives. So this Mangalore magazine was raved about by another prestigious magazine called Cricket Weekly in London. The Cricket Weekly was a magazine that ran for about 35 years, till 1915 or so. It was a very prestigious cricket magazine, which had the respect of all prominent, it even covered W.G. Grace, the father of cricket, as we know. So Mangalore magazine earned a lot of praise. I mean, I'm just giving you the background before I read a short excerpt about how the writing was.
We can put the current day ChatGPT to shame, I'm telling you.
So this was about a Mangalore college match. This was in 1904. It reported a Mangalore college match and described a dreaded opponent, like possibly Australia describing Virat Kohli or something. So I quote, his name was Vittal Rao. The opponent was Vittal Rao. Mr. Vittal Rao then stepped to the crease. A hush of expectancy fell upon the assembled multitude as he motioned to some intruders to keep clear of the screen behind the wicket, then widened the boundaries and set himself for a polycentural score. Thomas Correa, however, Thomas Correa is the bowler. Thomas Correa, however, had got his hand in, and the second ball sent the bails flying from his wicket. Now, this kind of writing you rarely find. I mean, there was Neville Cardus-Slater. There were other writers, but you don't find it even 125 years later. I mean, as commonly I'm saying. So there are many such passages, some of which I have quoted. In fact, it'll actually make if I wrote such a sentence, my English teacher would be proud of me.
Someday I'm going to write well enough for Jayanth to send me those. Even till today, I look forward to a message from Jayanth which says a good report, because having started almost my career under him, and it means a lot when it comes from him, because I know it's very genuine. Someday I'm going to write a report which I'm sure Jayanth will be proud of. Just staying with history, Budi Kundran, one of the most flamboyant Indian cricketers of those times. It wouldn't be wrong if you could call him the Virat Kohli of those days. I wouldn't, I mean, it's not an insult to him. But the flamboyance, I think it also came with the territory. In those days, India also had some of the finest and the most flamboyant wicket keepers with Nari contractor for company, then will he go down as one of the finest Mangalore has ever seen, not just of his achievement, but what he set in motion in terms of
Yes.
cricket culture?
Oh yes, definitely. In fact, arguably, at least in my opinion, I would rate him a little above KL Rahul. Not because he broke many records, not because he had a string of scores, but the way he rose, he went above his social and cultural circumstances to become a great player. Buddhi Kundran came from Mulki, which is not far away from Mangalore, the place where Sunil Shetty also comes from, the actor. So, Kundran was, he didn't spend a lot of time, a lot of his teenage years in Mangalore. The family shifted to, it was a big family, the family shifted to Bombay, a small chawl in Bombay, where he learnt his cricket. Those were the days in late 50s and early 1960s. Those were the days BCCI had no hotel facilities for cricketers. So if you were a player from Bombay, you had to come with your kit from home. So Buddhi Kundran had nothing to take. He didn't even have a pair of wicket-keeping gloves when he went for his debut cricket match. You know what he did? He borrowed it from Naren Tamhane, the wicketkeeper, the very man he had replaced. You can't think of that happening now. Definitely not. So, and he came from from modest circumstances, as I said. Home was a place of noise for him. He wanted to concentrate. So he went to a nearby stadium where there was the Gymkhana grounds in Bombay, if some are familiar. He slept on a parapet there every night during the 5-day match so that he could concentrate and come back to the field. So Buddhi was, and he's also, of course, let me quickly add that he is also the only cricketer I know of who has been written about so widely in literature and books. Amitav Ghosh, Shadow Lines, there is a direct reference to Buddhi Kundaran's fantastic innings in Chennai. His, in fact, which he is known for. Also, Gaur Kishore Ghosh in Bengali has written a short story where Buddhi Kundaran is a character. A young girl wants a husband like him, and she's madly in love with this cricketer and wants somebody just like him. Shashi Tharoor has written a beautiful passage. In fact, I'd like to just read that out. Shashi Tharoor was an 8-year-old boy when his father took him in Bombay to watch Buddhi Kundaran batting. I'll just read that out so that it gives you an idea of Kundaran's lovely swashbuckling batting. Okay, I'll start with the quote. So Kundaran was playing John Price, the English fast bowler, England's finest bowler, and he hit him for a 6 over leg. So I begin quotes. He almost instantly repeated this shot, this time just failing to clear the rope. In less time than the difference between a 4 and a 6 could be explained to me, Kundaran was already 16. But he tried it too often, sending up a skyer that swirled up in a gigantic loop over mid-on. As the ball spiraled upward, Kundaran began running. When it was caught by a relieved Titmus in the deep, Kundaran continued running. He hurled his bat skywards with an exuberant war whoop, caught it by the handle as it came down, and ran on to the pavilion. It was exhilarating stuff, and I was hooked for life. That is Shashi Tharoor describing Kundaran. You know why he's greater than even than two Virender Sehwags.
It was also a passage, one of those very, very rare passages from Shashi Tharoor where I didn't need a dictionary. I understood every word of what was written in that passage. Maybe it was an 8-year-old Shashi Tharoor thinking and writing.
Yes,
so
yes.
The
Yes, of
language
course.
was absolutely common man. Yeah, then we'll also talk about the late Victorian era and cricket. All of you all may have watched Lagan, but Lagan happened, even the fiction part of Lagan happened much after Mangalore's own Lagan teams were playing, but not with the British, but with themselves. I'd just like to read a little this thing on how life lessons from them still remain. So there was Lord Harris. Lord Harris also was one of those who carried the Mangalore magazine, and he was the former governor of the Bombay presidency.
He was the governor of Bombay presidency, almost like probably the mayor these days. I mean, or probably.
Lord Harris had a lot of do's and don'ts that he had written down. I'd just like to read a couple of them in each, one in each of the positions to show how forward-thinking he was. One of the things he says, don't, when your turn comes to go in, keep the fielder waiting because you have not taken the trouble to put on your pads on when the batsman before you went in. It's a very primary rule of discipline in cricket, and that's written there. Don't appeal to the umpire unless you're satisfied that your appeal is justifiable. You may think the batsman is nearly anyhow out, but that does not justify an appeal. In the era of excessive appealing, it's something he told them. To a fielder in every position, don't run in when the ball is hit in the air, rather run back. If you have misjudged the distance, you can run faster. Don't, when you miss a catch, think to gain sympathy of the audience by tearing your hair or groveling in the dust. Save another run by throwing in the ball as quickly as possible and abuse yourself in your own estimation as much as you please afterwards. To the captain, don't consider the reputation or the feelings of your best bowler. You are playing to win the match, not to support his reputation. So take him off when you think best. That's something world over captains don't do much now. And to all, don't play for yourself, play for your side. Often we forget cricket is a team sport. Jen, on that note, the influence of the British and the Mangalore's cricket culture.
It's been no different from what it has been in other cities in India. I mean, cricket, as we all know, came to the cities first, the metros in Bombay, Calcutta, Chennai, Madras, and so on. But in the smaller cities, like in Mangalore, it came via the Christian institutions first. Of course, in the Mangalore case, what happened was Aloysius was started, and we hardly a decade, and Canara institutions were also started. So you had both these institutions with cricket teams. And of course, I mean, and that is how it developed. I don't, they didn't have a gymkhana grounds like in other major cities, like, or even in Bangalore, for example, where the cantonments, British garrisons were positioned. But it was the institutions primarily that developed the game and so on.
There are only 11 people who are on the field. 15 who make it to an Indian squad, but a lot of cricket in a place goes beyond the boundaries, and one of that is, he's here today, and I'll just read a very little piece of that. The title of the chapter 3, is cricket keeper Pai Mam, a proactive elder statesman of the game. Well before the crack of dawn, as a film of darkness still hangs in the air, a tall and elderly man, sporting white sneakers, strides purposefully towards the gates of the Nehru Maidan, situated in the heart of Mangalore city. As he steps into the playground, he scans the vast expanse like a batsman surveying the field before taking strike. He walks up to greet a group starting practice at the nets, turns around to chat with the coach. At times, he could be tutoring a teenager on forward defense, straightening the elbow in the direction of the bowler, or sprinkling water and marking the pitch. At times, he could be wrinkling up his forehead to fish out a sheaf of documents, player profiles, and stats from his backpack. Kasturi Balakrishna Pai, affectionately called Pai Mam, and he's right here. Thank you, sir, for being here today. Please can you stand up? I mean, that is a reflection of cricket. Jen, so sorry, I'll call you Pai Mam because it's only after I read in the book I understood the meaning of Mam in Konkani. I always thought it was a slang they used to call Mr. Raghuram Bhatt as Bhatt Mam. Yeah, so I'll continue to call you Pai Mam here. Then the Pai Mam, the Suvarnas, the Balals, the Alvas, the whole lot of people, they always say it takes a village, but it's always taken communities to keep the sport alive. The contribution of these people.
Yeah, actually, Mangalore can be a great example for the community divergence as diverse communities taking part in a sport. I mean, down the years we've seen even cricket clubs being initially, like in Bombay. I mean, we've heard of if the older people amongst cricket lovers know that we in the Bombay Pentangular we had teams based on faith lines. We had the Muslims, we had the Hindus, we had the Parsis, and so on. The Europeans, of course. So, but in Mangalore there was nothing of that sort. There were clubs, basically like the Pentland Club, which was born in the Konkani heartland of Mangalore. And of course, there were one or two other things, but nothing clearly on caste or community lines, which was a heartening thing. In fact, down the years, there have been so many contributions from various communities and caste groups. I mean, whether it is Swarna, whether it is Umesh Karvi, whether it is James Wilson, Patrick Furtado. There's so many, and there were university stars and all that. But the point is, cricket was never seen as along the lines of an institution, whether it is even institutions. For instance, Aloysius has had many people across the board down the years. So across communities, there have been a really divergent group. So it has been cosmopolitan all along.
I'll end with a sentence from cricket commentary for underarm cricket. It's again a very unique, I think like all the gyros, it's a speciality of Mangalore and very unique to Mangalore. It is a commentary from an underarm cricket tournament. It reads, "In the air, up, up and up, that was skied so high. The mid-on fielder is coming underneath, and there it's been taken after a little fumble. The fifth wicket falls for 23. What a collapse. Here comes the pocket dynamo Akash. He's a quality player, having a good record. Last year, he got 2 50s. Can he take the team to a respectable score? We will have to wait and watch. Underarm cricket.
Well, this is a very, please note these lines, if you remember these lines. This really happened at, all of you know that underarm cricket is a phenomenon here, only in Mangalore. It's so typical and distinctive to this region. I mean, it is like a folk idiom here. I mean, somebody said it's like Pili Vesha here. You know, in fact, the cartoonist Satish Acharya told me that, because he said the Kundapur style of underarm cricket is different from here, and so we have different. Very true, very true. So these lines were actually being told. I mean, when you have an underarm cricket tournament going on in a village somewhere. This happened near Madur, which is closer to Biri. So this match was going on, and there was this commentator saying all this. You know, somebody had skied the ball high, and the fielder who was supposed to take that catch is right in front of him, and this man is yelling away, will he take the catch? Won't he take the catch? You know, all that. It could never happen in any other circumstance. You are making him nervous, you know, as somebody said, So they're very funny things. But, other than humor, underarm cricket is so widespread. And in fact, the sad part of it is, some outsider would wonder, are we not training bowlers? You know, because they're only we seem to be training only batsmen. So anyway, there are various facets to that. In fact, when I'm on underarm, I'll just make I'll just cite one last anecdote about gully cricket in Bandar area, which was played last year also. This is a small tournament happening in a narrow street, starting only at 7 o'clock in the evening, and it ends by 10 o'clock. So the lights are on, and all the neighbors are watching, the householders are watching from their compound walls what's going on. The traffic has been diverted also, which doesn't happen in any other city, not even when Sachin Tendulkar played his gully cricket. So all this happened, and if you are looking for a local policeman, he was not there. Why? Because he was part of the team. So these things you could never find in any other city. Like Barish Trophy, this is very much a part of Mangalore cricket, and I think it's very appreciable to know that.
Okay, this was like the briefest synopsis we could do of the book. I know we're running out of time, and I've been getting a lot of this from a while, and sorry ma'am, I'm not wearing my glasses, so it's very blurred vision, so my glasses are here, sorry. Do anybody have questions for Jayanth? He'll take them very quickly now.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the talk. I just had one question. Could you throw some light on the thought process of incorporating archives? Like, what was the thought process of the structure of the book? And just if you could just talk something on that.
On the structure of the book?
Yeah, by incorporating archives as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Ideally, I would have loved to write a socio-cultural history of Mangalore, or cricketing history of Mangalore. But, it would be too academic, and it would require this took about 10 months or so, or a little longer, but it would need much more work, and it would need what is called shoe leather reporting. I would have to travel miles, walk miles for that, which I couldn't do for various reasons. But that was one thing. But the basic intention was to document, give a bird's eye view on the game in the city, because nobody has tried local histories. I have heard of the cricketing history books about Bombay, about Bangalore. Yes, Vedam Jayashankar has written one. About Hyderabad, yes, It's called cricket biryani, by the way, and so on. But not about smaller cities which have contributed richly to the game. I mean, there have been immense. So that's why I had to design it like in bullet points, like you're making a presentation. This is the history, these are the coaches, these are the players, these are the clubs, that was there. And so the archives was also part of that. We could have woven it in, yes, you're right, but it needed a different kind of form.
Sir, a quick question here. Left side.
Sorry. Yeah, sir. Sorry.
So just, it's in my mind. Why might have underarm cricket might have been introduced or invented?
Invented.
And whether the overarm had any disadvantages?
You mean globally or in Mangalore?
Let's consider Mangalore.
Okay. See, globally that's a different story. But in Mangalore, as I gathered, it was started in the around 1940s at Urva ground, and the Urva club is still there, and they still hold underarm tournaments. Now these days about 100 plus teams participate, which they filter down, all that. But why they started was basically like why gully cricket is happening, in the sense that it was started by. There was a field in, what is this called? Mangala Stadium, near Mangala Stadium. I forget what that stretch is called, where some boys used to play regularly with, coconut branch for bats, and some sticks for wickets and so on. These were basically less privileged children. A doctor used to pass by every day. I have his name, I forget the name now in the book. So he used to pass by, he used to watch these children play every day. And then one day he bought them the regular bats. And that is how, that is the story of Urva Club. But that itself is a resonance to the larger aspect of underarm, where you don't find, underarm cricket can be played anywhere, in the fields, in your playgrounds, of course, also on the beach, anywhere. And it can be played with 4 people, 6 people, 8 people. It can, in the place where I stay, there are 2 over matches. And this is the one where the commentary happened. So it's so flexible. The rules are flexible, the nature is flexible. You can, so probably it's why do people take to football? Why do Latin Americans take to football? Because it's the cheapest way to play, and it can be played anywhere. And possibly it's the same philosophy, where you can adapt your game to any sort of form, any form. It's likely, much likely. But it's very strange that it happens only here. It happens in this region. And I have seen matches, I'm from Bangalore, so I know in Bangalore also they play night cricket with the tennis ball, which goes on up to midnight sometimes in some localities, but not underarm. It's played with regular overarm. So it flummoxes me. I mean, it's quite surprising.
We'll take the last question, please.
Not a question, just to add up to that Shivaram Karan thing.
Yes.
It actually happened in 92, and it was hosted by Parampalli cricketer Saligrama. And
okay.
The owner of the medical shop is Chandra, and Chandra Medical's owner, I don't know his name.
Okay.
I remember this vividly because I was in my 12th standard, and those days in the early 90s, Torpedoes and around Madhyastha, yeah. Torpedoes and Chakravarti cricketers were running this state level tournament.
Really?
The Parampalli cricketers got excited, and they wanted to host one from their side. And they, with audacity, visited Shivaram Karanth, and he instantly agreed for that. And he came, and it happened in Saligram. And I think some of the photographs are still there with that medical shop. It's in Saligram bus stand.
Can I have your number?
Yeah.
Can I
I was not a witness. Actually, it was clicked by one photographer from Kundaprabha magazine. The editor is U.S. Chennai. I can give
great.
his number, you can contact him. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll contact him. Thank you so much for this information. Thank you.
Thank you for being such
mean-
lovely audience.
It's sheer happenstance that you meet the source at a discussion.
But I'd like to end on a note of saying, please remember, a Bangalorean came and wrote history on Mangalore cricket. Thank you.